Well, no, I was worried about that. I gotta see on my motivation. I still haven't been this one, so I was like, okay, I can afford to get this C and get around this. It's not an interview situation. Yeah. I just have to do that and that's going up. Yeah.
Ready?
Right.
Okay. Before the public comments, everybody have feedback? Okay.
Did I get down?
All right. How you guys doing? You ready to get started today? Okay. So, did you guys have a nice weekend? Yeah?
Went to the Lavender Grad here.
Went to what?
Lavender Grad.
What's Lavender Grad?
Oh, it's for LGBTQ allied students.
Cool.
And there was free breakfast.
Yeah,
That's pretty awesome. And the person who did the speech was really good.
That's awesome. Sounds like a good weekend. Okay, so welcome back. We will now start the sort of the second half of class and basically pivot to what we'll do in the last half or portion of the quarter. I'd like to work on some new steps in working with the data and understanding some new elements of ways that we can work with physiological data. So we're going to start taking those next steps. We're also going to be working on some demos, get you guys some access to work with some EEG. I'll kind of try to show you that a little bit today if we have time. But I first wanted to take a couple minutes and just kind of review a little bit in general about the papers that we had, the research reports. So for the most part, a lot of you guys did really good, so I just want to thank you, congratulate you guys who did really well. There's a lot of really good directions that we're heading in on that, and so I'm excited to see where you guys take it in the next section of class, work with some new analyses, add some cool stuff, see how the things that you've been hypothesizing about in the physiology might be affected by damage to the hippocampus and other medial temporal lobe structures. Okay, start really taking it up, getting it amped up to the next level. So hopefully you guys are excited for that too, and it'll be some pretty cool stuff. So some of you guys did a really good job. Other sections of the reports I was highly disappointed in. So it's important to note a couple points that came up. So some of you guys who checked out your emails might have saw some of the highlights that I just wanted to touch on as a class that are really important for developing good research reports, as well as basic good skills, not just as scientific and research writing skills, but professionalism skills. So you guys are all getting ready to graduate. We're going to send you off in the world, go make a bunch of more money than we do, and I want to see you guys set off in the best possible way to succeed. So a couple things that seemed the papers that didn't do as well, there were a couple things that seemed to hold all of them back and really consistent elements, and that were even present in some of the ones that were really good papers too. So they're useful to know. And the best part about it is that some of these things are really easy to correct too, because they're simple things to address. I thought we had addressed them earlier in class, but maybe it's a good point of reminder that we can readdress them now. So when you submit a paper, please put your name on it. Okay, it's important to do that. I'm not going to know whose it is in a pile of papers if you don't put your name on it. Okay, it's also part of APA format. And so since the first day of class, in the syllabus, everything else, we've been talking about keeping all your professional research reports submitted within APA format. So if you don't put your name on it, it's not an APA format, it's going to lose points. Okay, so that's really easy to fix up. Second thing, you're going to submit a paper for anything. Submit it in full. Don't leave big sections blank. So if you have a scientific research report, it's going to be a problem if you submit it without results and without discussion. Because we've been working on it for about 7 weeks, about 70 hours or so, we do have a lot of results to communicate. And there's a lot of stuff that we can discuss in talking about those results, because we've been doing it for a long time. And I wanted to use this as an exercise where you guys could do that in the paper. So a lot of you guys did that well. Some of you guys, it's important that if we want to be graded in with the full opportunity to earn the points, that we need to actually complete all those areas that can earn us the points. Okay, so I graded the sections that were submitted, and for the sections that weren't, you were docked pretty much entire points. In the future, on the next paper, if it doesn't have all the points this required of an APA scientific paper, and it's missing one, the whole paper is going to be 0. Okay? So hopefully these are reviews of things that you've done in 311 and other classes of practice research writing. When we're getting ready to graduate college, we should have these sort of elements down. Okay? Other thing, real simple stuff, formatting. Okay? These are easy things to clean up. Some people, it seems like, try to do really actually creative ways to double space papers. And so I was actually really kind of impressed with the creativity. But we got to do it in the right way, which is really simple, which is basically you want to make the paper officially in double space. So some people basically use single space formatting and then press enter every line down. And that's a really creative solution to making sure you're in accord with the formatting. But it ends up being a problem when we start editing and making any changes. And so the easy way to do that, if you need any tips, is to highlight all your document or whatever it is you want to double space in Microsoft Office or Word. You're going to right-click over the highlighted section of text. When you right-click on the text, it'll bring you a little menu of options. You want to select the option for paragraph. And within paragraph, there's going to bring a little menu that comes up then too, a GUI, as you guys know now. And the GUI is going to give you an option for spacing. You hit that, select the double spacing option, and that way when you want to make changes and edits, you don't have to worry about the other lines being in between. So that helps you. It helps me to give you guys good feedback when I want to start making some changes and help making some corrections in there. So that's an easy thing to keep up on too. Other questions on some of those elements at all? Okay, a couple other things then. Some basic elements of professionalism. Name your files in the right way. So name it your name, the project, or whatever it is. It's helpful because I'm going to download a bunch of files. It helps me to sort out what it is that I'm looking at within the group, not just your name, but give it a right name for the thing. Okay? If this is your scientific research report, call it that. A lot of people send me emails with nothing in the text. All right? Some basic elements. Add a salutation. Hey, how you doing? Here's my paper. Hope it works out. You know, whatever. Say something nice and sign off with your name. Just basic professionalism, sort of email etiquette. Usually it's not a big deal because we get along, we know each other pretty good in the class. But outside of the class, I want to make sure we set you guys up for success because you guys are about to head off into the big old world. So those are little things that could irk future bosses or supervisors or stuff like that. So easy stuff to fix up. Along those lines with file names, try to remember that as much frustration or stress that we might be under while writing papers and assignments, that you do want to try to be professional still, as difficult as it might be in our most stressed out time, even in the way that we write the articles, or I should say the title. So I got several things in some of the papers. One of them was titled The Evil Paper. Another one was titled The Worst Paper that they'd ever written. The other one, other things of professionalism included acknowledging the contributions that someone's cat made to helping them make it their way through the paper writing process. And that's cute. I like animals, I like kittens, that's cool. But as an opportunity to practice professionalism skills that you're just about to get stamped and certified as a college graduate, those are the kind of things that you want to hold off sending to your boss or doing something like that. Okay? Because I'm pretty easy to goof around with and get along with. But that's not a good way to ask for a good grade. Make sense? Okay. So, those things are reflections of, basic things that you can take forward in any class, any job. It's just life skills, right? You want to have respect for the people who are giving your time to help you get to where you're getting, and have respect for the people who are giving their time to read what you've produced. Professionally in science, when we write a paper and we submit it to a journal, they have to have 3 of our peers read the paper and they trash it, right? That's their job, peer review, right? They'll hold it to the fire, find out all the ways that it might not be the way that the authors are saying, and give the authors a chance to respond, right? So those 3 editors and reviewers, and I do this, I review for papers too, they do it for free. They're not doing it for any money, any payment, anything. And so we want to be really nice and respectful and courteous to their efforts, because people are giving us their time to fix up our stuff and what we did wrong. So, keep that in mind, because as much as we can be frustrated and stressed out and things like that while we're writing papers, it is important to kind of detach at times and take another person's perspective who might be on the team and working with us. And it's a good skill to practice. So try to keep that in mind. Are there questions about any of those kind of things? Okay, thank you. A couple other things. I think I mentioned this earlier as well, but don't submit empty sections of the paper. Okay, some of you guys are coming in late. Next time a paper's submitted and it doesn't have all the sections, if we just spent 70 or 80 hours where I know everyone has results, we've talked about ways to write discussions and we've talked about ways to discuss things, don't submit empty sections that don't have that. The paper will be marked as 0 instead of what I did now, which is give you credit for the sections that you did write and then dock you for the sections that weren't there. So heads up for those of you guys who are coming in now towards that end. So the paper's either done or it's not done. It's going to be a full paper. It's either going to be completed or it's not completed. If it's not completed, don't submit it. But make sure you submit your paper. So make sure you complete your paper so you can submit it, so I can do my best to hook you guys up with as much points as possible. Okay? Because, well, you might not believe it, I'm trying to help you guys out and get you guys as much points as possible, help you graduate on the best note possible. I'm also trying to do some really awesome stuff with you guys and help you get a capstone experience that you can be proud of at the end. Okay, so, and part of that is just going to require independence and autonomy from you guys. You guys are going to be graduating in 3 weeks. You guys are ready to be independent and autonomous, and the rest of the class is really going to operate from that assumption. That means assuming that you guys can be independent and autonomous to pick up lectures, to revisit them from the videos that are posted to the lectures when you don't have a chance to dial in all the notes or to attend all the class, and to work with the data independently and autonomously so that we can not just develop those skills, but some things that we don't always think about now, but actually been happening to me the last couple of days. I taught this class for the last couple of years in my past job, and very, very similar. And now the last couple of days, just per chance, a lot of the students from that class are asking for references to med school, grad school, jobs. And so I want to give you guys the next couple of weeks of independence and autonomy so you guys can show your stuff. Give me something to write about. If you guys need references, happy to hook you up down the road. But let's work on those skills so that I can write the best darn thing about you, get you those jobs, and say, yeah, they can work independently, autonomously. They're going to go in there, they're going to be able to kick butt, they're going to be able to troubleshoot. If there's problems, they're going to be able to think on their feet, think creatively, fix things when they're wrong, and finish the job in completion. So I want to be able to give that to you, but that means we got to work together to get everybody there. And we're on our way. It's not like we're not doing that. We're getting there. But we got to take a few more steps to finish up that process. Are there questions about any of that stuff? Okay. Let's see here. So that's kind of some of the things I wanted to start off with. And I also wanted to kind of ask for your feedback and see what were things that really worked for you with the paper that you found, wow, in the process, this is coming together and I can see kind of why we were doing things, and it kind of worked well. But where are some of the areas that you guys felt there were strugglings or things that we can do or that I can do to help fill in the gaps? Because I just kind of noted a couple of the areas that I found as gaps that we can work on and fix up. But I know that not everybody was able to complete the project in the same way, and so I want to understand a little bit better what we can do as a group, or if you want to hit me up independently, once you start working on our own, that's cool too. Yeah, Ryan?
Personally, I had a hard time in the introduction, more towards the end of the introduction, tying in my hypothesis, that paragraph, into what I was trying to say for the beginning of the introduction. I didn't feel like it was very streamlined.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
So that's what I would like to work on.
Yeah, it's hard, right? I mean, I think that's one of the things that I think the project illuminates, is that this stuff is really hard. And so we can definitely work on that, pulling that hypothesis together, bringing that literature review together. Do you guys want to have a class where we review some literature together and we just work through some papers?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, do you guys want to pick the paper, or do you want me to? Me? Ah, you don't leave that in my hands. Why don't you guys figure out a paper or two that you are finding difficult to understand, or that you found in the literature that you can't maybe wrap your head around, that I can do my best to help sort of fill in the gaps on that, and we can work on it together as a class in one of the next couple classes? Because I can pick one, but what if I pick one that ends up not being the most useful to your hypothesis, or the thing that's giving you trouble? I can pick a bunch of cool papers, but I kind of want to use our time, which is limited, to work on ones that that you guys tell me are giving you trouble. What do you think? You still want me to pick it?
There's a yellow latest
We can meet in the middle.
paper that's over 30 pages long. Like that.
You want to read one over 30 pages
Well,
long?
because it has everything.
Does anyone want to veto that suggestion?
I'd like to veto.
Sorry, I'm just playing. So what was the paper?
It was the Yonelina's, the 30-year
Oh,
review
yeah.
on recollection.
That's a
it
big
has
paper.
A really it literally covers almost pretty much everything. I got my hypothesis from there.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know if it was right or not, but for the most part, it covers encoding. It covers the whole spectrum.
Oh yeah.
So it's a good paper if you can pick and choose, pick and choose certain areas, and it's a good place for references.
Oh yeah. So she was referring to a paper by Jan Linus. It's called 30 Years of basically Studies on Recollection, and I believe it's in Memory and Language, perhaps is the journal. But it's a heavy-hitting paper. It's been cited maybe 2,000 times or something crazy like that. It's very, very well written, as Fitria mentioned. I happen to know Andy. He was my PhD supervisor. Super nice guy, awesome dude. Great writing, great paper. We could definitely do that if you guys as a class think that that's a direction that you want to go for more of the theoretical end. I would offer a supplement to that suggestion though too, which is that I believe that was in 2002, if not 03.
I think it's 3.
Yeah, so it was it's pretty long ago, and it's still great. But there might be some papers that might be more current as well, that we might be able to think about doing too. And even Andy has some papers, review papers in 2010 in the journal Hippocampus. That's a great review that kind of revisits those issues that might be better. And my other suggestion was that I wanted to see if you guys wanted to work through an actual empirical paper as opposed to a review one where they actually talk about data, because we could see how they present walking through results and discussion and things like that of actual data, rather than basically that paper, that review paper, is one long discussion and intro. But I want to see, that's why I kind of shied away from it a little bit, and we still can. But I want to suggest that maybe we do something that has data in it too. Yeah.
So we could possibly use that the theoretical for the introduction, and then the empirical for the discussion, maybe.
Yeah, although yes, you can cite the theoretical paper in the intro, but you can just as easily cite it for the discussion. But you can also cite empirical papers of data in the introduction and the discussion too. So both of those are wide open either way. And that was the other thing I want to suggest, is that as we move forward, that we add some more references to what we're writing. It's gonna make us have to read those papers that we're referencing, which is gonna make us understand that broader theoretical or some examples of data better, and it's gonna beef up our sections a little bit, and it's gonna give us a better understanding. And if we're understanding it better, then we're gonna have some more ideas of what we can write in the discussion. And it's not gonna seem so tough. So how many papers how many pages did I say the project had to be? Yeah, none, right? I think Greg, you asked me last week, and I said something like, as many pages as you need, but not a single word more than you need, or something like that, right? And but you guys wrote some really good stuff. I mean, some of you guys are getting 8, 10, 12, 16 pages, right? And that was without me telling you had to get that far. So you have a lot to say. There's a lot on your mind that you're writing. That's great. So yeah, the more we get some more. If I say to please add some more citations, I want to use that as a prompt to read a little bit more in the literature, read with me. We'll do it together maybe as a class for 1 or 2 examples. And another slight little teeny tiny favor I'll ask is that if you cite more papers, don't cite mine anymore, please. Okay, let's read some new stuff. And that's cool. Okay. How does that sound?
Wait, you said you don't want your name cited on it?
Goodness, no, not anymore. I read enough about it. We're good. We've had an elegant sufficiency. Anything more would be a copious redundancy. Yeah, I just want to get you guys reading other stuff and other people's stuff. Yes, Kelsey.
I was gonna say that 'cause I feel like I struggled with the discussion,
Yeah.
especially because it gave me ideas on what to kind of look for the second paper, because like for the discussion though, like I feel like I struggled with the discussion, but it was really helpful to have us do like bit by bit, and send it to Lindsay.
Yeah.
Like, that was like, especially because I mean, for one thing, I didn't procrastinate.
No, you did a great job, Kelsey. I saw your jobs. You went week by week by week. You chipped away.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't procrastinate. You were right on top of things, and it made your paper so much better. Imagine if you would have submitted as your paper all the drafts you submitted to us first. Yeah, I mean, not to say in a bad way, but you would have gotten crushed, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But you did really good, and so I just want to commend you for that, and the rest of you guys who submitted your stuff early too. Hopefully, you guys saw that that's where the real struggle was on losing points, was in the results and discussion. That not a lot of people submitted early. You guys seem to do you guys have much better, meatier, substantive sections for methods and introductions that we all worked on with a lot more time. So those of you guys who submitted that stuff, hopefully you saw that really helped to benefit you. So
I was also going to say it was helpful because one point Lindsay made with what you were just saying, don't use as much of Dr. Addante's stuff. So it helped me actually kind of just look for other people or look into other stuff.
Maybe she just doesn't like my stuff.
That's her problem. That's her issue.
That's perfectly fine. So yeah, I mean, she gave good feedback and she was very useful. So if you see her, thank her for her efforts on the side. She worked hard to try to help you guys out and get you guys to those points. And so I want you to think of this whole process as a growing process. Okay? And so what we're going to do in the next section and what's going to be due next. By the way, what is due next? You guys only have one more thing due, right?
The second paper, right?
Yeah, the second paper. Okay, so maybe we'll pepper in a couple quizzes along the way, but what I really like to do is, again, focus more on your autonomy and individualized work so that we can really knock this paper out. And I want this final version to really be something that sparkles, that you can be proud of. Okay, and you're right on track, and you know we're on the way, and so I wanted to use this paper that we just finished. One, essentially, it's going to now, as of right now, it's going to flip into being considered a draft for that final. Okay? So just like we submitted all the sections early, and we gave it a bunch of feedback, we chopped it apart, and then we rebuilt it into something that's just really a lot better. That's what I want to approach this now as. Okay? So let's just consider that however the paper went, now we're going to build on it, and we're going to reuse it. Okay? But we're not just going to reuse it, we're going to build upon it and make it bigger, better. We're going to add more stuff to it. And hopefully, this is going to make for your final paper to be one, much more manageable, because you've already written the backbone and the skeleton for it, and you've even built some meat on it. Okay? And it will give you that stepwise trajectory towards a really nice, substantive final project. Okay? And so the idea being that if, let's see, you basically have, you know, your paper 1 that we just finished, right? And you basically, do we have one hypothesis or did you guys use 2? So some of you guys use 2, some of you guys use 1, right? Okay, so I'm going to keep it simple here. We had our 1 hypothesis, right? We had behavioral data, right? Behavioral data, you should have had your accuracy, and you also had your reaction times. Yeah? Everybody on board? And then, of course, we had your EEG data as well. And so you had your comparisons of your conditions, and then, of course, we had your results, or excuse me, your discussion. Sorry, retype this. We had your discussion of that. Okay, so we had your discussion, and within all here you had your results, okay, and then your introduction, you had your 1 primary hypothesis, okay? So in paper 2, what we're going to do is you can keep all this. Copy and paste that sucker right back in. So you're already starting paper 2 halfway done. Sound good? Not only that is it halfway done, but you've already gotten feedback from me about how to make it better. So you're even more than halfway done in that regard. Okay? So 1, to take the feedback and use it, and actually like read it and go make the changes we suggested so that you don't lose the points again the second time. And this time we'll add at least plus 1 more hypothesis. So you're basically going to have a minimum of 2. Okay? And then you're going to follow the same pattern of reporting. Okay? And so when you report it, when you're talking about your results, okay, you're going to have results from experiment 1. You're going to have accuracy, behavior, and speed of response. Right? And then we also had physiological. And you had your ERPs. Right? Then we're also going to have results from not just experiment 1, but you're also going to have a section that we're going to add of experiment 2. Okay? And in experiment 2, you're going to do the same thing. You guys with me? Okay. So, experiment 2, you're also going to have your behavioral data. And we're going to have your physiological data. All right? And that's how you'll structure it when you write it. And so a lot of you guys got the idea in our first paper. Some of you guys missed the idea, but a lot of you guys got it, that if it seems tough to write the results section, use this formula of just reporting the behavioral stuff first, which is 1, just tell us, did they perform memory above chance? Then 2, tell us how fast they were for your particular conditions of interest, and if those conditions differed in the speed of those responses. So that's a t-test and a t-test. Okay, so a couple things about that some people seem to miss kind of consistently, which was that your accuracy is basically when we compared your percent hits minus your percent false alarms, and we compared that versus chance, which was 0. chance performance, okay? Which is basically 0. So usually, you remember, you should have been here maybe about 61 or so. So 61 versus 0, you do a t-test, and that told us basically if it was, how accurate they were. Okay? So that's where your accuracy is. People confuse the reaction times and accuracy, and you also just confuse the way that we were saying how accurate they were, or the reaction times, with the actual EEG comparison of the ERPs. Okay? So those are easy mistakes to confuse. You know, it's a learning class, we're learning this stuff, but there's stuff that we got to fix up because we're actually just saying it wrong. So if you follow this formula, put a t-test for how accurate they were, a t-test for the reaction times of your conditions of interest, and then at least one t-test of your conditions of interest at your physiological measurement. As a reminder, when we are reporting our comparisons of our EEG or your ERPs, okay, you want to include several pieces of information. You want to tell the reader, what electrode site are you taking this from? You want to tell them what time window or latency is the mean amplitude being taken from, right? So you want to know when and where. Or you want to tell the reader when and where. And also, we want to remind them again, and make sure it's crystal clear, what are the conditions that we're analyzing the two different ERPs between. Okay, if it hits incorrect rejection, some of you guys did misses incorrect rejections, whatever your fancy is, it's your choice, your hypotheses. So, but you do want to remind your reader, we analyzed ERPs for hits and correct rejections at the FP3 electrode site on the left frontal hemisphere of the scalp, particularly focused on mean amplitudes from the 400 and 600 milliseconds after stimulus onset or something like that. Okay? So those are some pieces of information that are really important to it. And if you write that, it will remind you that that's what you're measuring, and you're not measuring accuracy or reaction times with the ERP measures. So that's something I like to use as a writer, because sometimes I get confused what we're writing about, because we have a lot of results and stuff. So if I'm writing about reaction times, as I'm thinking about, I like to walk through and talk, at least writing, but also in your head, this is what we're measuring, because then it lets me know, oh yeah, we're measuring behavior, not physiology. So we had some of those confusions in some of the drafts that we saw the last couple of days, and that's some ways to get around that. Also, when you go through the discussion, then you're just going to discuss, you just circle back and discuss what this means, discuss what that found and what that meant, and discuss what that finding was. You just do the same thing. Find this nice formulaic thing. And of course, you can go back and revisit the lectures from the class, and one sec, Brittany, I'll get you. And the sections in the APA book, and pretty much anywhere on the Google webs on how to report a t-test. We walked through that before. That's a really easy formulaic thing too. So T, degrees of freedom, equals a certain number, comma, P equals or is less than whatever your value is. Okay? So we want to make sure those are easy formulas that we can use to make our lives a lot simpler. Because I know that it was a tough project and assignment for a lot of you guys. It was overwhelming, stressful, and scary, and probably wanted to throw your computer out the window at times. But those are easy ways to remember that we have some simple formulas that let us do that in terms of formulas for how to write these things. Okay? And likewise, well, let's sit there. Brittany had a question.
For my participants, I only had 15 at that time. Am I, because I have to have 30 by the paper too, do I have to scrap everything I did, a result, or can I just build upon it and just say? You're okay.
You're just fine. Good question. So if anybody didn't hear Brittany, she said she happened to have a sample size of 15 people that she was able to work with for the first paper. Now, holy jeez, we got a second paper to go to, and we got to have 30. Do I got to do different ones? Do I got to do them over again? Oh my gosh, what do we do? It's going to be just fine. You can use those as experiment 1. Keep it just as is if you need to, because like I said, we're now going to also be adding experiment 2. And this will come back to your introduction. You're going to have to beef up your introduction now, because you're going to have to add at least one more hypothesis to the introduction. And And I'll show you how to do it. It'll be reasonably simple. So it could be as simple as if you were testing initially, let's say implicit memory. Nicole, that's what you were interested, right? Okay, so if you had your hypothesis about implicit memory, maybe now, in order to make your, so basically, let's just say you've taken your claims and you've sent them to me. Now I'm drinking the Haterade at the bar, right? And I'm like, you have to convince me that whatever your results were, that's what is real about nature of the neurobiology of memory. And I'm just pounding Haterade shots all night, right? And I'm like, no way, I don't believe you. How can you prove it to me more? So we're going to do a second experiment, right, is what you'll have to, and you'll say, well, if you were interested in implicit memory, not only can I show you the effects of implicit memory at the scalp, but I'll have another hypothesis, which is the way that explicit memory should look on the scalp. So now you can do hits and correct rejections as well as a second hypothesis with, of course, your third one, which is going to be the hypothesis that those are different types of physiological patterns on the scalp, right? Which is actually a pretty easy thing. You just do that same little formula, you just run it a couple other ways, and it starts to come together really well. But you're going to have to beef up your introduction a little bit about talking about the elements of explicit memory, or vice versa. If you guys are doing hits and correct rejections, you might talk about implicit memory. Maybe you were interested in confidence. Maybe you were talking about attention, or a bunch of other things that you can explore in the data. We just add those little bits. So the introductions are going to have to get a little bit beefed up, and that's okay. Because there's no page limit, there's no minimum requirement. All you're required to do is just tell me a story. Tell me a little bit about what you read and what you found when you looked up some stuff to help beef up your hypothesis. And however long it takes to say that in a concise way, that's all you got to do. How does that sound? As a framework. Reasonable? Awesome. Okay, so we'll have to beef up our introduction. Okay, and then of course, these are our results. That's going to have experiment 1 and experiment 2. And then we'll also have to beef up our discussion. Okay, now the discussion can kind of be a little flexible in this regard. Some people like to structurally discuss experiment 1 and then discuss experiment 2 and then do what's called a general discussion where you discuss the big picture of what you found for both of them. That's cool. You can do that. I encourage it. For the purposes of our class, you can also just include one general discussion, as you have now, and just add beneath it some discussion about the new investigations of what you found. Does that sound reasonable? Okay, so you can do it either way. Pretty open to it. Okay. So, got a lot of that. Did anybody have questions on the feedback that I sent over? Anything not make sense or something that question or want to talk about? Yeah.
I was wondering, like, when doing the second part of this paper, are we going to have more time in class like we did last week working on it? Because that helps a lot, like having you come around and
yeah.
like doing a lot.
My goal for the rest of the class is to shut up. Which is probably what y'all hoping for. That's not supposed to be a joke. What was that? Yeah, I'll just play it. Yeah, I'd like to talk less and less and less and give you guys more and more and more time. That's absolutely the goal. Is like, I want to cut you guys loose. But here's the thing. If I do that, I'm doing it with the expectation that you guys are basically responsible seniors ready to graduate college, and that you're not going to be ducking out of class early the way that everybody did last week. You know what I'm saying? Because I trusted you guys when you did that. I said, all right, cool, this is awesome. They got it down. They're good. And then I saw what people wrote, and a lot of times it seemed like they could have used that time in class a lot better. And so if I see that, people aren't coming or they're leaving early because everything's perfect, then I'm going to just ask to see the paper early if it's already done, or I'm just going to start talking again and just droning on and lecturing about, which that's, we want to do other stuff besides that. So yeah, that's absolutely my goal. I want to be here to be a resource to walk around. You guys can be resources for each other, help each other out, okay? Do things like that. But that's definitely the goal. And as you might imagine, as we go into this next phase, I'll explain stuff about the data. I'll teach new things about how to do the things that you might want to do in the data. So there will definitely be some lecture components, but I want to kind of like taper it down. Do you feel like the feedback and the comments were reasonable or helpful or not? Okay. You guys know me, I try to be relaxed with it, but I'm not going to sugarcoat stuff either. If something's wrong, I'll just be like, hey, this is wrong, just fix it up, do it this other way. So don't take it harsh or anything like that. If it came off that way, it wasn't that intention. So, that's just about most of what I had here. If you guys have papers that you're finding that you think are good candidates to read, like the Annalina's paper that Fitria mentioned, start shooting them over to me, and maybe this time next week we'll make a decision on a paper. Maybe the subsequent Wednesday we can read it, or we'll walk through it. Does that seem like a pretty fair timeline? That way it's quick enough where we can get it done, but not delayed too long either. Does that sound reasonable? We can blend it a little bit too. How about this? How about some creative thinking on our feet? Maybe you guys feel free to shoot this down, by the way, too. It's just an idea I had kind of spontaneously. So we had that little discussion a few moments ago. Fitria had a really, really, really good review paper in mind. But we also kind of want to do some empirical papers too and look at how people are reporting data and how do we read how they report it and stuff like that. Why don't we divide the class in half, have one half do a review paper that they read, the other half do a empirical paper that they read, and you can have a presentation from each side where we have one side teach the other about what they read, what they found. So basically you get two for the price of one. You get to learn about each, but only have to read one at first. Hopefully the discussion will get you interested enough to read the other ones. Is that a terrible idea?
When you
Is that a
divide, are you
what?
meaning like we're working like this side is working on one paper, or
Yeah.
you mean?
Oh, we all like pull it together and decide as a group what's our.
I don't know. We can switch it. I just figured, you guys do an empirical paper that has, actually studied something, got results, data. You guys have a review paper that's more theoretical in orientation, and just, but it's just an idea, and you can divide it any way you want to. It doesn't. You just pick your side, whichever one you want. I'm just spitballing ideas, trying to think on our feet and see what. Audience, what do you think? Any ideas? Okay, so Kelsey's a fan. She likes the idea. Nicole, I don't know if you're smiling because you like it or if you're just laughing at me. But a little bit of both. What do you guys, your preference?
I like it.
Okay, there's no dissenters yet.
I think I like it, but I feel like there could be some improvements
Okay.
that we can all agree on.
Okay. Let's knock them out. Like what?
So I know it seems like people are having like issues with their hypothesis and stuff. So I don't know if I haven't talked to some of these people at all, but I don't know if maybe it could be divided into who's dealing with implicit or explicit, and work on that papers like that and then bring it up.
Perfect.
So that way it's hitting more close to home than just, oh, let's do this.
Okay.
This is for the class. Don't shoot me down. Just, if that's an idea, kind of hitting home to more what we're trying to do.
Okay,
and
so
group up that way.
I like it. I was also just gonna say because I also like the idea of being able to look at an empirical and review, and so then that way it's maybe one for both, but I don't want to add stuff to people because I know we all got other stuff going on too.
well, so you could have one of them be about explicit and the other paper be about implicit. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not. I'll talk about
Sure, absolutely, yeah. Why not? Why double dip when we can quadruple dip and have 2 different types of papers, but also on 2 different types of topics?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
I like what you're saying. Does that sound like a good addition? Okay. Any other ideas to make it better? Do you guys want to do it as like a PowerPoint where the group makes a presentation to the class? You guys would do it as a poster where where your group makes a poster? PowerPoint? Okay. Do something like that. What?
Extra assignment points?
Extra assignment points?
Yeah, that's a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll
Help us.
the points that you'll get from it are the points that you're gonna get on your final paper better. Oh, by the way, don't forget we also have participation points in the class.
We do?
Yeah.
Oh,
Pretty sure. Yeah.
Because I don't see you take roll files and you just know everyone's right there.
Yeah, we only have a handful, y'all. Yeah.
But you do have other classes up.
Yeah, so you're getting credit. Don't you worry.
Okay.
All right.
Just for me.
Could be losing credit too, though.
Oh.
All right. So. Okay. So does that sound pretty reasonable?
Yeah.
And then you got, even your groups can do like even your PowerPoint, you can make it, if your group doesn't have time to meet all together at the same time, or you can use it in class time to do that too. You can have your PowerPoint file as a shared file on our Google Drive that everyone can access and make changes to, so you can assign certain sections or slides or topics to different people in class. You can all add them into the same. Do you guys know how to do that? Have you guys done that?
Yeah.
Like shared documents online? Okay, it works out really nice and easily. And I can work with you guys on that too. So why don't we aim for doing that? Do you guys want to self-select your groups, or do you want me to do it?
Oh, this is. Can we do it based on like what?
Yeah.
On implicit.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm just talking about people. You want me? Do you want me to do this thing and just do this, or you guys want to like just yeah?
Well, for me, like, my hypothesis has nothing to do with explicit or implicit at all.
Well, so you think?
Well, yeah, because
Not
my.
hypothesis.
Well, no, because
Okay.
like.
I mean, that's perfectly fine, but it doesn't mean that you can't learn substances from even the process about reading papers and adding to it.
Well, because like, I thought the same thing too with my hypothesis, and then I came across a paper that infer possible implicit memory with false memory. So
Yeah.
and then I just keep finding everything linking back to explicit and implicit. So,
It kind of does.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, same question. Do you want me to divide you guys, or do you guys just want to kind of like, maybe we put a little sign-up sheet online, you just fill your name in or something like that? And then I'll let you guys pick what kind of paper you want to do, and you can pick your paper, you can consult with me, you can ask me for suggestions, I don't know.
Because all we're doing is explaining the paper.
Yeah, you just presented the paper. Here's what they did, here's what they found, here's some cool theories or whatever.
Well, can you, like, show of hands who's doing what?
Yeah,
Like,
because-
she was thinking, like, what if there's, like, it's, like, uneven, there's, like, 15 people doing one thing, and, like, there's only actually, like, 2 people doing the other.
Well, there's going to be some stuff like Ryan said. Like maybe it might not seem like everyone should definitely have different hypotheses. So not everyone's going to match up. It's not going to be a perfect blend in that regard. But it's an exercise, right? Like it's an exercise in reading papers, in understanding them, and how to digest them to improve our results, or excuse me, to improve our discussions of data. So we can do that successfully, get better at that for ourselves, by working on another paper as an example that's not exactly what we're doing.
Right.
That objective is still achieved. So there's going to have to be a little bit of give and play.
I was gonna say, I kind of, at that point, I'm just kind of down to just go through.
Yeah, I gotta agree.
You know, just kind of.
You guys just want to do that? Is that easier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, since we don't have a class that really talks, so.
We could though. You guys could talk more.
I mean, I'm,
Okay.
you know.
Let's just, how many people want to, let's do it this way. Forget about topics, because we're never going to get everybody matched on the same topics. So that's a silly endeavor that would try to pursue. How about just, how many people would be interested in reading, working on an empirical paper of actual results, and And how many people would want to do a theoretical one? So let's do empirical. A couple people? Okay. What about everybody wants to do like the review paper? Oh, nobody wants to do that. Oh, goodness.
I mean,
Sorry, Annalena. It's the only picture I wanted to do your paper. But, I mean, so I thought you guys wanted to do this.
not all review papers are like 77 pages long.
No. You can get us. You know where's really good review papers? Basically, a journal called Trends in Cognitive Science. It's shortened as TICS. TICS. And they're usually 7 to 10 pages max. They're designed to be general reviews. Yeah, so they're pretty good. Those are the ones I would recommend. Or similar ones, because you know the 30-page ones are great too. But just at an efficiency level, I think that you guys might be better served by the shorter ones. Yeah.
I don't mind doing it. I don't know what the class is thinking at this point, but I think it's a cool idea. Whoever is on board for it, is on board for it.
Okay. Let's aim for that.
Yeah.
Sound good? We can do a 50-50 split. Sounds like, since nobody else wants to talk or say anything,
Yeah.
Ryan liked the empirical side, I'm hearing review side on here, so why don't we say this side of the class, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, this is actually perfect. So just right down here, you guys can, and if you want, I can give you a paper as an empirical paper, but you guys have been reading them too. So find one that doesn't make sense, that could use a little bit of help from me, and we can do that. And same thing over here. You guys can find a TICS paper or something else like that as a review. And maybe next Wednesday. Do you guys want to do it next Monday or next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday.
Monday is Memorial Day.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yeah. So I guess we have. So we're not here.
Are we not supposed to have class then?
No. You can be
I was gonna say also, Dr. Addante, it is my birthday that weekend.
Hey!
I'd like to not.
All right.
Let's just chill for a bit.
All right, so let's aim for the following Wednesday. Not this upcoming one, but the, right?
Much appreciated.
Does that sound reasonable? And it should, by the way, guys, don't put a lot of stress on yourselves with this. You know, this should be a reasonable thing to just should just be a practice walkthrough. This should not be a huge endeavor. Yes, sir.
Well, we'll have some time to kind of figure things out.
Oh yeah. So we'll be done today by 3, by the way. So you'll have plenty of time.
Happy early birthday to me.
Yeah, happy early birthday, Kelsey. So does that sound pretty reasonable? Okay.
The paper with the reviews that says Trends in Cognitive Science.
Trends in Cognitive Science is one journal that does those. That's very nice. But there's others. There's Trends in Neuroscience, TINS. They're also very good. Okay. So, okay. So we have the presentations. Okay. How many people have tried to take a stab at improving their papers since they got the reviews and the feedback back? Hope you guys have? Okay, so how many of you guys would like a way to earn some points back on the papers? So you guys? How many of you guys would not like ways to earn points back on the papers? Okay.
What kind of question is that?
Well, not everybody raised their hand when I asked the first one.
Well, then they don't have to do it.
Yeah.
I was saying they're shy.
Okay. Anyways, so what I wanted to do was offer you a chance to get some points back on the paper from this past week. And basically, if you take the feedback, you take the edits, turn it back in, you can get 25% of the points missed back on the paper. Let's aim to get that in by. Basically, I don't have time to drag out the assignment any longer, and I know you guys want to move on to the next thing. So let's get it in by noon tomorrow. Okay. If you want to get earned credit back on the paper, take the feedback that was offered. Hopefully, some of you guys have said you've already adopted that feedback and integrated it in, so it should not be too big of a project to integrate. But if you can do that and send it back in better, more shaped up form, then shoot it back by noon tomorrow. Does that sound pretty reasonable? And we'll get you 25% back if the feedback was taken correctly and the steps taken to accommodate it was also correct. Does that sound reasonable? Okay. Any questions? Okay, so there's a lot of opportunities to get points here. A lot of ways to build people back up into success. Develop really what should be our big goal, this second paper. Okay? Multiple hypotheses, okay? Multiple experiments, and a discussion that integrates that to a cohesive message. Sound good? And all it is just doing the same thing we just did for one, and I just add 1 or 2 more things. But together, over our 10 weeks, it's going to add up into something really, really nice, I think, that you can be proud of. And so, let's see here. Let me walk through and explain a couple things of what I was aiming for the next section. Maybe give you guys something to work with here, okay? Not bad, is that? So good. It's a wig. Anyways, so
I was gonna ask, we're never gonna book a speaker in that building again, right?
never.
Okay, good.
No. Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. So you guys, yeah. Did you guys like to talk,
Oh, it was
Yeah, it was
awesome.
awesome.
Dr. Nason?
Yeah.
He's a very humble guy.
Yeah.
Like, really, I would have been pissed after all. I'm never coming.
Yeah, that was so embarrassing. Oh my goodness. Because the sound kept going off and like the alarms, and we didn't have no.
I've never had that happen
mortified.
ever. Not
Yeah, I
even
had class in that room last quarter either. It like never.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like everything that was probably like happening with everyone's like worse.
Thank you guys for coming. For those of you guys who came, hopefully you guys found a really interesting talk, really unique insight into someone who's done something very historic.
I was gonna say it kind of added that kind of thing because it's like one thing to read about, like, oh yeah, patient HM, you read about him, it's interesting and it's kind of fun conversation, I guess. But then like it's cool to actually be like, that's the dude who actually like made like slides in his brain.
He didn't just make the slides of the brain.
But, like,
He took his brain out of his skull.
Yeah.
Like that's
And carefully and
very,
carefully.
very carefully, absolutely.
And froze
So
it
it's-
very like on point.
Yeah.
I
So
also took notes at one point. I don't know. I found it kind of fascinating that myelin binds, or silver binds to myelin. So I went silver binds to myelin. Cool.
yeah,
It was really interesting. Yeah.
awesome. Well, I'm really glad that you guys liked it and got some value out of
Just
it.
like, I don't think
Is
that-
there? I was gonna ask, is there a way like to be able to visit his like the brain society?
Field trip?
Yes and no. Yes and no. So we asked him about that,
Okay.
and he said absolutely he would welcome us to come visit the lab. However, it's still in building form right now, so he's still like reconstructing it. So he moved from UC San Diego to establish his own institute, and so it's still kind of in construction.
Okay.
So when it's ready, he says he wants to welcome students from CSUSB to come visit and possibly even go and get internships and jobs and research opportunities, which is basically why I'm building this class, because I want to be able to give people the skills so that I can recommend them to him and say, yes, please hire these guys. Here's what they know how to do, and they know how to do it well.
Because it's like really special what he's doing. Like, I don't know. I love old people. Like, it's just my area of like, that's just my heart. It's just the elderly, and it brought me kind of sorry, it's cheesy. It brought me to tears when I saw the images of those like those donors, and it and I can see why he's doing it with the research assistants. They do handle it with more care because there's an attachment,
Right.
you know what I mean? So, and it becomes more meaningful. You work that much harder, and so on and so forth. So that is something that I've never seen in research. And it's, and I told them that here in our anatomy physiology lab, like, we're so curious when we're working with cadavers. Well, what's wrong with this cadaver? Oh, I don't know. We're not supposed to know. And, and part of me feels like that this was probably someone's dad, someone's mother, and I get the not, like, it has to be anonymous. But there's something to be said if you kind of know the background of the person. It's still a person.
Yeah.
More, and oftentimes you treat it like it's just a specimen.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and we treat our own work like that, right?
Right.
Like you get up and you're like, all right, I gotta go to work today. And, like you had a rough night or whatever, and it's just another day at the office. But how much more special do we value our time when we can actually appreciate what we're doing with it, and the opportunities to work with somebody's really special specimen. That was their life. That is who they were, and it's something that we take our own time for granted working on those things. And like he said, if any guys missed his talk, he said that when they work with the anatomical slices of the brains now, when he gets donors, that he cultivates the relationships with the donors while they're still alive, and that the people in the lab get to know the people, the research workers and all that. And he said that if you want to have your research workers stop accidentally, like dropping slides and breaking them, get them to know the donors. Because now when you're working with the slide of someone's brain, it's not just someone's brain. It's Bob Fernandez, the guy that you were talking to last week and was telling you funny jokes about his grandkids, what it was like when he, fought in Iwo Jima in World War II, and his life with his wife for the and you take that slide of the brain with so much more reverence and respect, and leads to better data. You're not dropping the data, you're treating it better. And you value your own time. It actually is more meaningful and rewarding for what we do then too. Yes, Kelsey?
It's actually an interesting thing because they tell you, like, especially when you do like research with people, you want to try not to get too attached, but I think that's using that attachment for good, like.
Yeah.
Because then it's like you can't help how you feel, but like you can kind of channel it in a way that actually makes it to where you're more reverent to the data, you're more reverent to what you're collecting and what you're doing.
Yeah, we gotta have that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. So, along those lines, talking about patients, talking about clinical things, talking about those elements and that reverence for data that people have actually contributed, which, by the way, you guys all have data with people too. You guys all collected data with people, and some of them might have been your mom, your dad, your brother, your friend, your coworker. Those are people's data, and we need to respect that too. I mean, we take that kind of for granted as well, but that's real stuff too. So, what I'd like to do is introduce you guys to kind of what I wanted to move towards then in the next steps to help start the process of developing those next hypotheses and analyses and guide you towards that. So, the first thing, hopefully everybody saw this note on the side that said, please don't download the folder from the drive. Basically, I added a folder called Data for Section 2. So if you just find that in our folder, hopefully you did that earlier in the class and that's all downloaded or whatever. If you haven't, go ahead and download it. It'll probably take 5 minutes or so. And what that is a folder of data, of EEG, from a large group of subjects. Some of those patients, some of those people in those subjects are actually patients who have clinical brain damage from various types of things, traumatic brain injury from car accidents, mild hypoxia, which came about from heart attacks and things of that nature, resulted in selective hippocampal damage. They're some of the rarest patients available, or really not available at all, because it's very, very difficult to find these patients. Okay, so you guys have a very, very extraordinary opportunity for the next couple weeks to work with data that most scientists in the field of memory will complete their career with never having access to. They're the patients that I recorded for my dissertation research. They've been published twice in 2 of the papers that we referred to in class. So the data has been validated in that regard. And really nobody else on Earth has this kind of data that has our paradigm of item memory confidence and source memory confidence responding in a group of patients with selective hippocampal damage. There's 1 or 2 papers out there that have done similar studies, but on a single case study of patient John. So those papers are ones that you want to cite, probably in your reviews or discussion. By the author, the first author of that paper was Duzel, D-U-Z-E-L, and he had several papers basically from 1999 to 2001 that included a case study of a patient with hippocampal damage, patient John, But he did not use item confidence responding nor source memory. It was basic item recognition. Just hits and just correct rejections of old new judgments. He didn't get the specificity that we get to understand processes like recollection and familiarity from our confidence ratings. So remember earlier in the class we talked about how powerful of a tool it is behaviorally to use these confidence responses? Well, we have that in this data. Other papers and researchers who have collected similar data from patients with selective hippocampal damage did not do so with physiology. So they only had behavioral measurements. This is a very rare and special opportunity that I'd like to share with you guys. Something very near and dear to my heart because I spent 5 or 6 years of my life working with these patients and collecting them. I do know them personally. I've seen them. I've seen their memory deficits. I've seen the struggles that they can have in life from the amnesia deficits. And so I want to embark on this next stage of the class and sharing this data with you by underscoring what you ladies were mentioning from the talk from Dr. Nese, which is the real respect for these patients and what they've contributed by volunteering their time and their struggles to helping us understand this a little bit better. So what we'll do is you can start developing some hypotheses basically about what is the role of the hippocampus in the medial temporal lobe structures. Okay, so it's things like questions like what is the role of the hippocampus and or medial temporal lobe structures in cognitive processes such as memory, attention, or even brain states. So we'll get to that in just a second here. Okay? So this isn't quite a hypothesis yet, is it? This is really more of a question. Right? Or a theoretical question or within a model. It addresses issues of models or accounts of neural and cognitive processing. Okay, but we can develop this into more specific hypotheses, really related to the questions that you've been asking. Okay? So we talked about memory, right? You can ask and make some hypotheses about explicit memory or about implicit memory. Memory, right? Within explicit memory, you can carve your hypotheses into things about recollection or familiarity. All right, so we can already start to carve these things into different hypotheses about different memory processes. Okay? You can also talk about things with attention. Now, we haven't talked a lot about that in here, but you most certainly could. Based on our reaction time measures, you could see, basically, if the physiology differs based on reaction times, and you can create correlation plots, right, between things like reaction times and, say, physiology. Now, attention measures might be something like the N2PC, which is discussed in Dr. Luck's book earlier in the quarter. In the opening chapters, he talks a lot about attention. That happens to be his research area. You can find citations to research that he's done on that, or that Dr. Jesse Bankson has done, or that Dr. Ali Mazahiri has done. They all publish together, and you can find a lot of their papers. They do things by look at the N2PC, which is ERP very early in time, as opposed to our FN400 or LPC that's going to happen later. So it's just another effect. Our textbook describes that in more detail if you're interested in developing hypotheses about attention. We also had other hypotheses people have been working on about confidence. Right? You can look at different confidence ratings, 5s versus 4s, just high confidence versus low confidence. What 5s versus 1s, 2s versus 4s. Okay? Is that what you were doing, Ryan? I forget. You had that confidence thing?
I put that in my methods,
Yeah.
but I did correct projection because.
Oh, okay, cool. So you were doing more of the explicit.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what do you mean the research stuff wouldn't have anything to do with your explicit memory?
Because she said implicit.
Okay.
I'm not doing implicit.
Okay, see, I remember.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we can have it, hypotheses about memory, about attention, about confidence. Now, what about brain states? We talked about that too, right?
We were talking about alpha waves.
About what?
We were talking about alpha waves. But we were
Oh
talking
yeah,
about-
alpha waves and brain
We
states.
didn't completely delete them when we were working with them.
Yeah. So, do you guys remember when we were working with the data, we talked about processing it with baseline correction? Right, we're always correcting. So, what I'm going to do is in the data that we download, and we'll walk through it in a little bit, I've pre-processed the data so that it's not baseline corrected. Okay, so what that means is that if this is our stimulus onset, right? So here, time point 0, okay? Now as time moves along, right, you're going to have your physiological waves move like this, right? And we've always looked at parts in the data, right? We've looked at the LPC. Oh, that's no good, huh? We have the LPC here, right? So that's about, say, 600 to 900 milliseconds, right? We've also looked at the FN400, right? All these are basically post-stimulus onset. But what you can do is you can start to look for brain states related to cognition, in that maybe the state of the brain that it's in before the stimulus shows up on the screen, maybe back here, maybe that's actually going to be different based on, so let's say the black line is when people remember an item, and maybe your condition, because you use bin operations in your events list to create different ERPs and different conditions, maybe you have another condition here. Maybe the green line is when people forgot. So you have times when people remembered versus when they forgot. And here, check it out. As you move along post-stimulus onset, those ERPs don't differ much, do they? Maybe, this is a cartoon, right? I'm just drawing it. But maybe you'll find when you explore the data with your own hypotheses that if you look before the stimulus comes on the screen, that there could be a difference such that brain activity could be raised higher beforehand, predicts, or will lead someone to give a response that they remember something, versus if brain activity is lower beforehand, maybe that leads them to forget what is about to be seen. Okay? Now we can expand upon this in further classes, but I want you to introduce the concept and the idea, because these are all different types of hypotheses, or different types of things that you could begin to add and develop hypotheses on. Okay? So these are all new variables that we're introducing that can be explored and assessed by comparing different conditions. Okay? Now, so that's basically what we'll call pre-stimulus effects. Now you can do that for attention, you can do that for memory. Yes, Patricia?
If it was a pre-stimulus like effect, for instance,
Yeah.
the forgot, could that, I mean, I don't know, is it like, can we like associate it with like the consolidation period?
It could be.
Okay.
That is definitely one possible thing you might be able to try to associate with it in the discussion or the introduction, or use that idea in the introduction to motivate testing a hypothesis about pre-stimulus because maybe you've read the literature and you have some ideas about how consolidation might be affecting memory. Or if something's consolidated or if it's not. Therefore, this is a reason why we should look at this pre-stimulus time period. Oh, we looked there. Here's what we found in the results. Now it's time to discuss it. In discussion, you elaborate upon what you introduced and say, yeah, so this is what we found. We were initially motivated and interested to look at this area before stimulus onset because other researchers have linked that to something that might be related to consolidation or not. Since this is what we found, here's how what our results are fit within what other researchers have found about consolidation. And then, building upon that, here's what we think. We add new to the story about how consolidation might affect memory or what have you. So you guys see how we kind of work through the logic of using just one idea of consolidation to build how we frame a discussion? Right? And that was just hypothetical. But we can work with all you guys individually on doing that for your respective findings. And that's what I want to see. That's what we're expecting in a discussion section. And it's as easy as that, of being able to say what I just said within 4 or 5 minutes in response to one question about consolidation. We'll just do that about each of your respective things. How's that sound? Okay, so then what we will also have, the last variable over here, is, as I mentioned, the hippocampus that we can start making hypotheses about. Now, here's the thing. You have a sample size in that folder. Your sample size is, I believe, 58. Okay? Of that 58, you have a sample size of 3 that are hippocampal patients, amnesias. Okay? You also have a sample size of 6 that are matched controls. Okay, so why is it important that we have matched controls when we work with clinical patient populations? Exactly. Great job, Elizabeth. Yeah, so you want to compare findings of what is maybe a deficit, or perhaps what type of memory is perfectly fine with hippocampal amnesia. Both are true. In order to convince the haters at the bar who don't believe your results, you need to be able to compare that, like Fitcher said, to a control group. A group of people who are exactly as close as possible to those patients, but without suffering the medical clinical damage, that is neuropathology to the hippocampus. Okay? So these tend to be people who have roughly a college education for this particular case that we're working on. They have roughly equal gender proportions. They have basically the only way they're different from our healthy college-age students, basically you guys, is the fact that they happen to be middle-aged. Otherwise, they're the same demographic profile, same information, and so it really just varies as a function of age. So they're an average age of about 50. And that information's in my, I think, a 2015 paper. It tells those demographic information about those subjects. Okay? Same thing with the hippocampals. And then, you've got whatever that is, 9 minus 8, so whatever D8 minus 9 is going to be 47. No? Is that 40? Did I get the math wrong? No. Yeah. It wouldn't be 47, it would be 49 actually. So you're going to have a sample size of 49 that are healthy, young adults. Okay? So, in that folder, Site 433X, the data for Section 2, okay, when you download it, you're going to see a ton of files. 58 basically times 2, because we know our EEG data comes in two little companion files, right? So you're going to have whatever that is, 116 files. Big file, big folder, but they should be downloaded by now. When you open them, you'll see just a big list of files, right? And just like you guys are all experts of now in class, you'll see that they all say our long file names of everything that's been done to them, processing-wise. Okay? So, we can begin to explore data for our hippocampal patients, for our age-matched controls, and our young controls. All right? Now, I'm not going to tell you which ones are which just yet. Okay? But we'll get there in just a little bit. Let me erase this, and we'll work on a couple features. What it is. Okay? Okay, so let's take a look. If I bring up my MATLAB here, and 3 data, and oh, let's see here. Demos. That'll come back in a second. But anyways, point is, we type in EEG lab to begin. It'll open up. Let's see. Oh, does it fail? I'll have to redo that. So what I'll do is I'll just show you that I will basically load an existing data set. I'm actually going to navigate to my own file for that, which is data, and basically it'll look like this. So let's say I grab subject 3. Okay. So, you guys want to snag the lights in back? It's going to be easier to see. Or is that a lot better? Awesome. Okay. So, I basically loaded in this case I started with subject 3. And very similar to the data that you guys worked with, I think it goes 3 to 27, and then a bunch of numbers, 31 through basically 40, 58 or so. And then there's subjects in the 80s, and there's some subjects in the 90s. Okay? I'm just going to start at the bottom, just like Drake. We'll start at the lowest number, like 3. What's that?
Still using that?
That's all I got. Love it. You guys got to...
No, I made my friend laugh by just being like mentioning the haters at the bar with the haterade, and my friend like freaking died.
That's funny.
It's just follows me around.
See, I can't even make people laugh with it anymore. But you guys got to give me some new jokes to this. Okay? I'm relying on you, Love It.
Oh no.
You got to make me do better than Drake. Okay? It can't be that hard, right?
Alright.
Because Drake's pretty, well.
It's not that bad.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyways. So, point is, we're starting with subject 3. It's been resampled, there's been an events list, we sliced it into epics. Okay? So again, in our file name, we can see it has an events list, it's been epicked, and I even did a process called ICA that I ran on it. You can ignore for now. But that just tells you what we've done to the data. We know that we have, so a couple things you might notice. We have averaged, of course, our references are the average of the left and the right mastoid. Okay? LM, left mastoid. RM is right mastoid. It says that the channel locations has not been applied, but I'm pretty sure it has. I think that's just a function, just an error that it just didn't recognize, but I'm pretty sure we've applied channel locations. And the thing that I wanted to draw your attention to as well is that we have, in this case, 265 events. Okay? So 265 events, we should have 300, right? What the heck? Why did that happen? Well, it turns out that when we do this process called ICA, which is independent components analysis, analysis, ICA, okay, what that is it's a way to help us start to clean the data, okay? And what it will do is, before it processes the data, it finds the very, 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 very worst trials and it throws them out. Now, the data's still not clean yet. It's just a little tidier. You still need to go in there and clean it up a little bit,
Yeah.
but you've got a head start. So, but when it does that, you're naturally not going to have 300 trials anymore, are you? No, that's okay. So that's what we have here, and of course that's the same as our epics. So I just wanted to start by showing you that. Just a basic orientation of the structure of the data, okay? So here we are, I've loaded in subject 3, and what we're going to need to do is what we've done before. We've got to plot, channel, data, scroll. We've got to clean this data up a little bit. So I'm going to type in 75 for my view again. And you guys remember all this fun time? Yeah? Okay, you guys are really good at this. Okay? So, what you'll need to do is basically come in and clean the data. We got to clean up things like that blank. There's actually 2 more blanks over here. Now, a couple things to notice. Okay? Because I wanted to help you pursue these new hypotheses where you can look at the stuff happening before the trial, for if you're interested in brain states. Okay? We've opened up, so this is our stimulus onset here, right? Right, so time point 0. Remember when we did this before, we went negative 200 milliseconds? You guys all remember?
Yeah.
Okay, I've changed that now this time. I've given it to you guys such that it goes all the way back to about negative 1,000 instead of 200.
And this is already preset up.
Yeah, I've already preset this up for you guys. I've already done this. Okay? So, this is actually the whole epic there. Okay? And that's what you'll see. So if we, just like as you guys are experts, if I grab that trial over here, see how it goes all the way out to there, but it comes all the way back to about 1,200 milliseconds prior. So that allows us to look at these windows of brain activity happening before the cognition. Which is really cool, because now we can tie in the underlying neurobiology that's happening way before you're even aware of it, and relate that to what actually happens when you see something you remember. Okay? So anyways, that's the idea with the data. And so what we got to do is basically just clean it up and reject those trials. Okay? So let me show you. By the way, you guys remember how we did that? Anybody want me to show it again? Or you can go back on the videos from those classes in the past. But you guys all got really good at being able to reject artifacts, right? Okay, and if not, we can work on it. You're definitely going to work on it through here. Okay? And so, what it'll allow us to do, okay, is, so basically what your steps are going to be is, you're going to, 1, load the data set for your subject. Okay? Your second step is you're going to do artifact rejection. Okay? Within that, you're going to save it with your file name that has an ending that, what did we use before? Did we say AR for artifact rejection? Art. Artreg. Okay, so you're going to have that file name underscore artreg.set or whatever, right? So the first step, And then what do we do after the artifact rejection? You create ERP average for the individual. Absolutely, good job. 3. Create ERP average. Okay, so just as a reminder, this is done in EEG lab GUI. Now this is done in ERP lab GUI. Right? You guys remember those subtle little differences in the menus? Okay. So we're going to create an ERP average. Then what do we do after we create an ERP average? Bin operations. Right? Bin operations. And then after bin operations, right, you want to save your ERP file. Did we do anything else then? Huh? Yeah, you can plot them if you want to see them, but ultimately then you're going to do that for, you know, all subjects, and then from there you're going to create your grand average. And from your grand average, now you're going to plot your ERPs. You're going to plot your topos, and then of course you're going to do ERP measurement tool, right? Which is basically stats. Okay, so for one subject, you're going to do these 5 steps, right? Then once you get done with those 5 steps for all the subjects that you want to do, for all your subjects, you're going to create a grand average, you're going to plot your ERPs, you're going to plot your topography maps. Now one of the things I noticed in the papers is people plotted topography maps, but only of single conditions. We got to remember that topography maps need to be plotted for the subtraction of the 2 different conditions that you showed on ERPs. Right? We want to show the difference waves. Okay? So that's something to keep in mind in your revision. So you want to plot those to show that differential activity. And then of course we want to run our statistics, so we need to use the ERP measurement tool. So those are going to be your steps. Okay? A couple tips that I would recommend doing. Okay? Use a unique folder. Okay, so keep all this within, say, the new folder that we download. Basically, you don't want to contaminate this new project into the folder where all your old data is. Because remember how much of a mess our old data, all the files, you get them everywhere and you got all these crazy names? Keep that mess somewhere else. We're going to have a whole new mess now for this stuff. So we got to keep it different. It's a really, really useful tip. Okay, so use a unique folder for this. And just like before, it might even be useful to have a folder within it for our EEG data and one for your ERPs. And then you might create another folder for stats or, you know, whatever. So those are some tips of things that can be very useful. Sound good? Okay. So, are there questions on this?
So we're doing this, like, for example, like the 30s.
Yeah, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab 30 subjects. So remember, we have... So, we want, right now you have a total sample size of 58. What do you think? 30 is a pretty good number, you guys feel like? Okay. That way you don't have to go through and artifact reject all 58. Sound fair? Okay. So let's find within that 58 an n of 30. Your choice. Any of the 30 you want. I would download the entire folder first and then just pick those 30. Okay? And then I would put the other ones that you're not using and like create another folder, say subject not used or something like that. Just so you can help to, trust me, it'll keep your sanity clear a little bit because we're going to have a lot of files. Sound good? Okay. So let's shoot for 30 young controls. Okay. And now we also know that we're going to need a sample size of 6 for our age-matched controls. Right? And we know that we're going to need a sample of 3 hippocampal amnesia patients. Yes?
Are the age matched and the applications part of the age?
Yes. That's why they're all embedded.
And do we know the numbers?
I'm going to tell you that right now. But no is the answer. You don't know that yet. But I'll just tell you. There's no big secret, but I'm just trying to keep things structured and just work through one thing at a time. So, okay, so the sample size of 6 age-matched controls are subject numbers (80 through 87). I want to write that down so you know which ones that you need to use. Those are very special subjects. The controls are very important because what if we find that the hippocampal patients are impaired in something? Well, that means we can't prove that they're impaired unless our 6 age-matched controls are not impaired, which is still a really, really low sample size. How many of you guys have had a class with Dr. Riggs? None of you guys? He would probably kick me out of this room for a sample size of 6 people. He's a statistics professor. Mm-hmm. He's very tough. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yes. I have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would he allow you to pass his class with a sample size of 6 people?
No.
No. Exactly. Right? Because 6 is very low and it's very difficult to find reliable effects in 6 people. Okay, so we need to be precision specialists from here forward. Because we are working with very, very delicate data that is very important. If one of your 6 subjects is not processed well, or has errors, or artifacts included, you might not be able to have enough signal and noise to find significant effects. And if you don't have significant effects in the controls, then you can't say anything about deficits that might be present in the patients. You guys see how important that is? Okay, so 80 to 87, very important subjects. Treat them very delicately. Okay? Our hippocampal amnesia patients are subjects number 90, 91, or actually it's not 90, I believe it's 91, 92, and 93. Okay, here, I'll write that a little bit more clean. That's so sloppy. Subjects number 91, 92, and 93. Okay? That means that out of our initial 58 subjects, subjects number 3 through, I guess, I forget how many, there might be 50, through the 50s, I forget the exact number. These are our healthy young controls. And you're going to grab 30 out of the 58. Just to get, yeah, I'm sorry?
55.
55? Okay, thanks. I'm just going to erase that, turn that. A big fat 5. Sound good? How does this sound with you guys? This is really just a lot of organizational information, but hopefully you guys can appreciate that the organizational stuff is really important, right? We've gotten lost sometimes when we got behind on the organizational stuff. So if you get this down, everything will be good. Yes, Lynn?
I didn't mean to cut you.
It's okay.
So for the hippocampal amnesia patients, how do we go about? I haven't looked at it yet, but as far as artifact rejection, are we having to reject differently?
So really, really good question. So if anybody didn't hear Lovis' question, she asked that for the hippocampal amnesia patients, how do you go about artifact rejection? Is there something different about it that you should be more careful or unique about in managing that data? And the general answer is no. You want to process them exactly the same. Now you do want to be more sensitive and delicate because this is really delicate data, and you'll see that there's 1 or 2 of these patients that are actually really messy data. Okay? So it introduces us to some elements about conducting clinical studies using electrophysiology. One of the big challenges in doing clinical work with electrophysiology is that the physiological signal can be a lot messier. Sometimes patients have other conditions happening on them. So hypertension, for example, maybe they're a little tense, right? So they have tension, they're going to have more EMG, right? Now, do you throw away all the trials with EMG just because they're tense? You can't really afford to do that because you don't have enough people, right? You need every single one of these people, and you need every single one of these trials that you can get, right? With 3 people, there is 0 room for error. Seriously. So, this is why it took me 5 years to test 3 people. Because there's 0 room for error. You must be on point, on target, and executing flawlessly when you do this. Or, I mean, you're screwed with, right? A mistake, 2 people is not a group, that's not a trend, that's just a line. You need 3 people to be able to make a line, or a group, or a trend, statistically, right? So it's really, really important. If you screw it up with one person, it's very, very difficult. So failure is not an option. Yes, Fitcher?
I have a question for the hippocampal patients.
Yeah.
Do we have the demographic on or you?
Yeah, it's published in the papers, basically.
Oh, okay, just use that.
Yeah.
For the ages. Okay.
Yeah. So you want to be very delicate working through that data, Fitcher, because basically you want to treat it identically, right? But at the same time, you need to be sensitive to some of these clinical factors, right? We do need trials, which means that you got to be really careful. Every time you throw one out, it might mean that the data could no longer be significant anymore, because you might need that just enough signal to noise ratio to be statistically significant. So, what I would recommend doing is processing through these subjects first, these subjects second, and save these guys for the last when your eyes are trained to be experts. Don't go in there rusty. Go in there after you've already gotten used to working through all the data on these guys so that you're very, very in tune to picking out the different elements that you want to keep or reject. Does that sound good? Yes, Rob?
Just clarifying, with the 3 through 5, we just pick through.
Yeah, pick your favorite third. Yeah. Is what I would do. So anyways, that's the big idea, and we will see if you guys can get enough trials with the hippocampal amnesia patients. Okay? And I think you can, but it's tricky. tough little course to navigate to get the trials just to be just right. Okay? And so that'll kind of be the idea. Let's see. And we can kind of start with that. If you haven't downloaded that folder, I would download it. And then we can start working on things. Yes, ma'am.
So we can get the channel locations as well, or did you want us to?
Right now it's fine. I mean, I can just, I can just check that out right now, actually. So we have this here. It looks like it's all there. Let's say I come here and we do ERP lab. I'm just gonna do reserves. So I'm just creating a crappy file, just a sample file, so I'm just going to name it a bunch of gobbledygook, right? I'm just typing, well, you can't even see that yet up there, but yeah. Let me erase the board here. So I just named it a bunch of crap, and I'm just saving an ERP file, just to test to see if the channel locations are logged in there correctly. Hit OK. Okay. And then I will let me add some bin operations there on that. Okay, so we're seeing that the bins are being mounted so that I can pick a couple bins to plot some ERPs of. Do you guys remember last class? We worked on that. I showed you that function to plot the ERPs in the right spots on the head. That'll tell us if our channel locations are in the right spot. So I'm just going to do that. But I just need to grab the bin, so I'm just doing it.
Okay, you want to edit anymore?
Oh, you can. I'm just saying I don't think you need to. I think I already did it.
Oh.
It was a while ago, so this is one way to verify that and just check. How does this project sound overall for you guys? Interesting to work with the clinical data?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And you can take whatever your hypotheses are that you wrote your first paper on and now explore how they're affected by damage to the hippocampus. Okay, which is basically a second hypothesis. Pretty good? Just about finishing up here. All right. Cool. So let's plot Earth waveforms. Not going to do all bins. Let's just do 82 and 39 for now, and plot the topographic and say plot. No, you know what? Maybe it's not. Doesn't look like they are. So one thing you might have to do is actually go in there and do what we did before. Add that channel, edit the channel list in our data. Tools, what did we use before here? Edit channel locations. Yeah. Well, anyways, we can work on that error later. But yeah, it looks like you might need to add one more point to my instruction list earlier. I thought that we had already done the channel locations. You might just need to do that. Just add it. So you can go back to your notes from when we did that earlier. Just a real easy thing. Save that in. How does that all sound? Pretty good? Okay. So that takes us to about 2 hours for today. I feel like I've talked for a lot. I think you feel that way too. I'd like a break, and I think that you probably would as well. Maybe let's take a rest, and we'll basically go till 3. Basically, I'll be here till 3 to talk with you guys individually about your papers, about your projects, about your hypotheses, about your discussion, your ideas, your theoretical ends, and then working with this stuff. Does that sound like a good plan? Okay, let's do that. Oh yeah.
Ryan has a question.
Oh, it's me.
Ryan.
Sorry.
It's who's it by? Just where'd you like just find it like site info?
No, I don't know. We're doing I don't know.
I think he said you guys were.
Okay, it's this one. It's like 77.
That's okay. I just want to like be able to look.
Yeah, it has like really good stuff. It's 8.
And it's not 80 either, it's 80. I just put 80.
Can you send like a just send like a copy of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Just because I'd love to be able to like at least look through it over there.
I know.
Oh, do you prefer it that way?
Yeah.
Oh.
He does that on his own.
Oh, okay. So, do you have a student? Because I'm just give you the one that I always just give. Okay, bookworm, all one word. 0527 at gmail.com. And I'll just like save it on my computer. Thank you so much. I just wanted to ask about that.
It's not. What?
Yeah, no,
pertaining to like music. Oh no! See, I like because I had to understand. So I was listening to some of
oh yeah, no, like I need to flesh something out a little bit.
Yeah,
I'll go to that.
Yeah,
For the most part,
but that's
I really have
really
to.
like review one. It breaks it down to like sections.
Okay, that's cool. Because then, yeah. 2004?
No, this is really. Yeah, it's like. He's an easy.
How'd you know the paper?
I got it.
You didn't get your paper back yet?
No,
Oh, okay. So you.
excuses.
Oh my god, no. Literally last week. And this is why I'm happy because I didn't want to be like over confident, but I lost my because I just was like, I don't have any questions, so I just wanted the library to be quiet. And I worked on like editing and fixing it, making it, nice. It was due 11:59 and officially 8:30 p.m. officially. I also had I also had a class that had an exam that day. Last week was insane. I'm surprised I'm not just multiple math and glue just rolling around and meandering about.
Oh yeah, because like I have a stomach virus. I just had a virus that Wednesday. I ended up having to. I ended up having a fever. I ended up having to. I'm doing the makeup lab for the makeup exam. So
I'm sorry, that really sucks. Wait, do you have? Yeah, you have.
So I ended up and it was just I was and then because she never said she was like more about it. She's like, yeah,
Don't worry about it.
she just sent me the letter. So I did the
Dude, you had a reason. You had a legitimate reason. But no, it was just like, I'm surprised I made it through it. Oh my god, it was crazy.
and then
I would just do artifact projection because because if you do artifact projection, it saves it out. You have that as well. Have that.
I would do both on the articles, because all I do is work. And it's like shit.
How's that game plan look for you, Mo? Make sense?
Okay.
Feel like something you can do? Okay. So keep in good communication. Let me know when I come by and help give you news. Sound good? just have some really cool ideas.
So literally just do well in the next article and we'll be like,
Yeah, no, it's not like this. Same with learning, I got to see it.
And
So my grades still.
I was thinking there is a possibility to tie it with.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure how.
Oh, yeah, no, you have to look this one.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
well, you could say that you could look at the pre-stimulus activity that we were talking about, and you could have a question about are subjects using pre-stimulus, or excuse me, are subjects using working memory to prepare for the different job? Is that interfering with memory? So you might ask, you might do the literature search, find out what are some ERP patterns in working memory. Where on the head? What are the shape of their patterns on the head? What's it look like? People use working memory, EEG, right? And then build a hypothesis that says, we think that maybe subjects are using working memory before the task happens because they get that little fixation process. Maybe that fixation process is making them pull that in line of getting that order line. So if you say, our hypothesis is that they're using working memory to prepare for the upcoming trial, therefore we expect to see this wrong pattern. When other people have found ERP effects of working memory are, we expect to see that in the people. So if you get for stimulus, we hypothesize that they will see that whatever it is, temporal parietal pattern of activity or state, and you have to think about what conditions you have to contrast to see that. Your deal. There may be times when they remembered versus forgotten because maybe the times they remembered are because they were instructions. Memory maybe they forgot, or times they weren't. So maybe that would be a reason why you can see what the memory difference is. So that's one way to think your way through it. But you have to know what some of those patterns are in literature and give yourself a hypothesis. And then you can check to see if that is the same or different in chemical. Yeah.
That was
And for reference. The best.
No, it's just, so let's say you're comparing hits to correct projections, right? Which have been 82 and 132. You don't want to show the want to show the topography of yeah, it's been in there since long. But all you have to do is grab your legs and you'll find that win number for that. Or just ask when your friends are all doing the same thing.
That's still lovely.